Former UN Ambassador John Bolton for his reaction to this news. Ambassador, what do you think?
Well, I think it's significant that it took almost 10 years for this weapon to be used. It came into service, as I recall, right at the end of the Bush administration, which means that during the entire period of Obama's tenure, it was never used in Afghanistan or anywhere else. The point of having these kinds of weapons is to do severe damage to your adversary with the minimal risk to Americans. And I think they're probably assessing the implication of an administration that's willing now to use this weapon that took so long and so much money to develop to finally employ it in combat. And they're considering it not just in ISIS global headquarters, but in North Korea and Iran and a number of other places as well.
Certainly, and in Russia as well. I mean, it's like, guys, you know, you got to get al-Assad out, or else we are capable of quite a bit. What exactly can a weapon like this do? In other words, if you're going in there and you're trying to take out ISIS, which is hiding out in these caves and these tunnels, does it have enough geographic spread at 21,000 pounds to be able to get the area that you need to get?
Yeah, well, obviously, a weapon this size and its magnitude is roughly equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. No radiation, obviously, but it's very powerful, and it's capable of effects not only through the air blast on the surface, but particularly its effects below ground on something like a tunnel network, really debilitating them, crushing the tunnels, destroying whatever is in there. So this is exactly the kind of target that the MOAB was designed for. And I think that the Pentagon will be doing the battle damage assessment right now to see whether any follow-up is needed, but most importantly to see in real combat conditions for the very first time, did this weapon deliver what it promised to do? Are there things they can learn from it? So from the Pentagon's point of view, this will tell them a lot about its utility further, I think, in the war in Afghanistan, where Taliban and ISIS have used tunnel networks to their advantage, but seriously also in places like Korea, where so much of their nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons programs are conducted underground.
What does it mean for the fight against ISIS? In other words, is ISIS going to take this incident now and say, okay, this is full-on war, we're now rallying our troops? Are we now more at risk as a result of this? I mean, this might have been something Obama would have thought. He would have been afraid to have done this because it would put us more at risk. I'm asking you, are we?
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. You know, winning wars actually puts you less at risk when you destroy your enemy. That's a lesson Obama could have learned. I think the applicability against ISIS is potentially very important. Obviously, the Pentagon is concerned about the risk of civilian casualties. That will always be a factor with a weapon of this size. But I don't think it's entirely coincidental, as the Pentagon is conducting the reviews that President Trump asked for to accelerate the campaign against ISIS, that now we have a combat test of this weapon.
And Ambassador, can we expect more of this? In other words, is this just the beginning? He said he was going to wipe out ISIS. He said he wanted to restore America's place, America first. What does it mean for the entire international landscape?
Listen, I tell you, for those who were worried about the strike in Syria after the Syrian government's use of chemical weapons, for those who may be complaining about this, the most effective way to keep Americans safe, military and civilian, is make sure our enemies don't even think about taking action against us. That's what the military capability is really for, to act as a deterrent. And if you have to use it, make sure the enemy understands it. And I can't think of two better messages for a new administration to send than the attack on Syria at the end of last week, and to use this weapon after all these years against terrorists in Afghanistan.
All right, Ambassador Bolton, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining me.